Hello. In a recent devotional that I did, I was talking about the song, Is He Worthy? And my thoughts keep coming back to the opening few lines of that song. Do you feel the world is broken? Do you feel the shadows deepen? And when we look at the world with all its problems, wars, greed, diseases, inequality, climate change, the dreaded COVID pandemic, recent arising mental health issues, it's clear to see that the world is broken. And in fact, it has been since mankind first turned away from God. But the following lines of the song bring hope. Do you know that all the dark won't stop the light from getting through? Do you wish that you could see it all made new? What is the light that gets through into even the darkest of places? Where does this light come from? Well, right back in Genesis chapter 1, we read that the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The visible light in this world comes from God. But that's not the only light. At the start of John's Gospel, in talking about Jesus, John writes in verse 4 and 5, "In him was life, and that life was the light of mankind. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not overcome it." Jesus' very life is the light that we all need, to show us our darkness because of our sin, and to show us our need of him, and also to light the way for us so we know how to live. In John chapter 8, verse 12, Jesus himself said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." And so we praise God for Jesus, the light of the world, the light that darkness has not and cannot ever overcome. We don't need to be afraid of the darkness in this world. It cannot stop the light of Jesus from getting through. But that's not all we see in the Bible about light. Let me read Jesus' words from Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. "You are the light of the world." Wait a second, I thought that Jesus said he was the light of the world. How can we now be that light? Let's read on. "A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven." Now, a few years ago at a youth group and at a youth service, we did some pumpkin carving. And instead of the usual ghoulish faces, we carved a cross, put a tea light inside, lit it, turned the lights in the room out, and the results were beautiful, and a great illustration of what happens when we become a Christian. Jesus effectively scoops out our sin and puts his light within us, and we then shine his light around us. We need to take that light of Jesus into where it's dark. We're not the light of the church, but of the world. The light of Jesus should shine through us in our everyday lives so that people can see his light, his goodness and love and mercy through us. Let's not hide the light that Jesus has given us. Just think for a moment, where feels dark for you right now? Maybe it's your workplace or school, or maybe your neighbours are going through a really tough time, or you know someone who's struggling with fear and anxiety. Or look further afield to places around the world where there's fighting and wars. Sometimes it's hard not to see the darkness. But instead of feeling overwhelmed by the sadness and the pain and the dark that we see around us, let's try to think, how can I take light into that place, to that person, to that situation? How can I bring hope? What can I do to make that place or that situation a little better? Even on a purely human level, the things we do and say have much power to bring some goodness and light to other people. But as Christians, just as the sun is so much brighter than a candlelight, we have much brighter light to bring, because that light that we bring is from Jesus. One day when Jesus returns and everything will be made new, there will be no more darkness. But until then, we can bring light by sharing with others our hope in Jesus, by doing good and bringing God's love practically to those around us, and by praying for God to bring light into dark places. By doing this, we are giving the world a glimpse of what is to come when darkness is banished forever. We are bringing God's hope and light to a broken world.